different things I could talk about this morning, having just gotten off a plane back from Atlanta after a full weekend of baseball down there. But I'm going to focus this on one player, one ball player. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and/or hockey. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Pirates 4, Braves 2 in the very weird series finale yesterday, which I say only because it began at 11:35 a.m. so that it could be shown on Roku, which still doesn't seem like a good enough reason to start a game at 11:35 a.m., but whatever. The Braves took 2 of 3 in the series. The Pirates are 3 games under 500. They're still stuck in the same spot they've been in the wild card for what seems now weeks. And I'm going to break from my mold here a little bit this morning and share with you just a general impression of one kid on this roster who maybe isn't getting enough attention for how well he's doing, especially considering he's doing it as a position player, which is rare air for this franchise. I'm talking about Nick Gonzales. He's hitting .280. He's got 5 homers. He's been up since May 10th. And I got to tell you, a couple things. First off, I think he's here to stay. B, I know I was wrong about him. Not super crazy 180 degrees wrong like I was about Bailey Falter, but I was wrong about him in the context of doubting whether he'd ever be able to overcome his strikeouts, because he had a lot of them all the way through the minors after being Ben Cherington's first draft pick with the Pirates, and coming out of that class as one of the most anticipated hitters. Well, he hit. His barrel was every bit as lively as everyone had forecast at the time. The problem was that his barrel wasn't hitting the ball often enough. And the strikeouts really brought everything else down. They would bring him down while he was in the majors, and it all made for a bad mix. He worked relentlessly this past offseason to address that, to find a way to make sure he's making more consistent contact. And he came into spring training and was just hitting. He went to Indianapolis to start the season, which I thought was a sound move on management's part. And he just kept hitting. And he comes up to the majors, and you're completely convinced that he's just going to do what every other prospect does when they come up here, a hitting prospect, and that's fall apart. And he didn't. He's still hitting. But even that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I saw this kid over the weekend in the same game foul a pitch off his left shin. Now, take a hammer and smack it against your shin, and you've got a pretty good sense for what that feels like. He went down in a heap. This is a tough young man. He went down. And Derek Shelton and the athletic trainers had to come out, and he got himself back up, stood in the batter's box, grounded out. But what really stood out to me about that ground out was that he was flying down to first base. Later, same game, fouls another pitch off. This time off of his right thigh, like thigh/hip area. Again, goes down. Again, bounces back up. And later in that game, a ball is hit. He's at second base, and it's headed up the middle. He has to take a straight line to this ball, meaning turning to his right. He can't angle it. He can't have his feet set away where he's kind of cheating toward first base. He has to go directly in that trajectory to get there. So he does, and he flings the ball almost sidearm, a little bit underhand, and really puts some juice on it to get it to first base to get the out. Really nice play. Same game. Little flares hit to center field. O'Neal Cruz should have broken on it, didn't break on it. One of several things everybody was upset with him about over the weekend. And by everybody, I'm talking about people inside the team. But Gonzales broke. It wasn't his ball in any way, shape, or form. Broke all the way out into center field. Makes the catch. I find him after the game, and this is a loss, so you're not going to be doing a whole lot of light conversation or yucking it up or anything, but I find him after the game, and I said to him in a drop-dead serious tone, I had no idea you were a ball player to this extreme. And he lets out like a big smile and says some nice stuff or whatever, but I wanted him to know that I'd seen all of that. I'd seen the cumulative nature of all of that and how he continued to compete. And I asked him, basically, what was behind that? What's the underpinning for this young man? He just said, I have a chance. I have a chance. All you want as a professional athlete, they will all tell you, is a chance. The worst case scenarios for all of them is when they'll get blocked or buried or nobody believes in them. And if you go back to the spring, again, you'll remember that it was supposed to be, who all was in that mix? Gonzales, obviously, since I'm talking about him, Ji-hwan Bae, Leover Peguero. And I remember saying at the time that I wasn't taking Gonzales seriously, that I thought it was going to be Peguero, and if it wasn't, that it was going to be Bae, because Bae could come in and do kind of a super utility thing since he could also play center field. And no. Gonzales is the second baseman. He's played nearly 50 games since coming up on May the 10th. That's 50 games in 6 weeks. That's his position right now. No, he's not Brian Reynolds, and he's not out there every single day, but he's there way more often than not. And when your manager, I don't care what level we're talking about, when your manager sees you pushing through injury, limping around a little bit, getting iced up the way Reynolds was, by the way, all weekend, oh man, that counts for a lot. Do not downplay this development. This is a first-round pick, 7th overall, making it, staking his claim to second base. This is a significant thing for the Pirates. I'm guilty of underplaying it. I won't be doing that anymore. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from David, who says, Dejan, you often talk about the leadership of the playoff teams the Pirates had in 2013 to 15, about how they went to management and demanded they take action to improve the team. Could Paul Skeens be that player already? I don't think it's going to be Brian Reynolds or Brian Hayes doing that. No, it's not going to be either of those two guys, David. You can take that one to Bob Nutting's bank and cash that check already. Skeens, this is a different dude. I don't often do a lot of cross-pollination between the podcasting that I do and the writing that I do, but I really hope you check out a column that I wrote on Skeens for DK Pittsburgh Sports from Atlanta. This was Saturday night after he pitched. It just happens that it was all about his maturity, his confidence, his poise. Brian Snitker, the manager of the Braves, went out of his way after that game to say, I don't see a rookie out there when I'm looking at him. And he's not talking about the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, because in the game now, you could be talking about a lot of people when you're getting into triple-digit heat. He was talking about everything. He was talking about Skeens calling out the grounds crew to fix the mound, that he felt Max Fried was damaging on the other side of it. And he was talking about Skeens getting out of those jams early on. He was talking about just the general comportment of the kid. And there's a ton there. He's not afraid of anybody. He's not afraid to say anything. And I've been sharing with you guys for a long time that there's nobody in that clubhouse who's going to be like Neil Walker and Travis Snyder and Francisco Liriano and AJ Burnett and Russell Martin were to those playoff teams. And I've gone through a list that was way deeper than just Reynolds and Hayes to make my point that they're not on this roster. And by the way, Andrew McCutchen isn't one of those either and wasn't back then. Kutch is a consummate pro, don't get me wrong, but he'd be the first to tell you he's not that rah-rah guy. Skeens is. Skeens sees everything. He's not super vocal. You don't see him or hear him, taking charge of a situation or whatever in a clubhouse. He is still a rookie. But when I see that he'll go out of his way to give Jack Sawinski a little bit of a pat on the back for encouragement, Jack's obviously going through a really, even by his standards, tough time at the plate. That shows me something. That's a rookie doing that. Jack hit 26 home runs in the majors last year. Skeens wasn't anywhere near the majors. It's easy to see that he feels comfortable taking charge, but it's just as easy to see that it's not time for that yet. And that makes sense. In their world, every place that he's going now, and Jared Jones has talked to me about this as well, every place they go is somewhere new. Every stadium that they see, they have to ask for directions, ground rules, the whole deal. One of the younger Pirates, and I'm not going to say who, I saw him yesterday coming out of the clubhouse asking the attendant, how do they get back to the hotel? How do they get back to the team hotel, which incidentally is in walking distance there. And I just kind of laughed a little bit because I'm reminded that there's still, 5-6 guys on this team who actually are really young. So he knows his place. I don't think his place is there. I definitely don't think you're going to see him on the eve of the trade deadline in July piping up, hey, go get us some help. These guys stink. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But a lot is going to happen related to this kid off the field over the years to come. I appreciate the question. It's a good one. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.